Talk show hosts have a lot of control on their viewers. When Kelly Ripa revealed a less than popular perspective on Live with Kelly and Mark, she had to learn this the hard way. Following a recent announcement by the Girl Scouts of the USA, the news was released. The recent announcement from the Girl Scouts seemed to be confusing to Kelly Ripa. Since 2023, Ripa and her spouse have presented the discussion show. She had previously hosted the show alongside Ryan Seacrest, Michael Strahan, and Regis Philbin. The Girl Scouts were recently discussed in relation to the series. The group is particularly well known for using cookie sales to raise money. According to People, the company recently declared that it would stop making 2 of their cookies after the 2025 season. These were Toast Yay and Girl Scout S'mores. Talking about the news on the program, "I suppose Girl Scouts are retiring 2 fan-favorite cookie flavors," Ripa declared. Consuelos was concerned about his favorite flavor after hearing the announcement. He answered, No, don't. I'm going to leave the set immediately if it's Samoa." Ripa had a few harsh words for the less fortunate flavors after reassuring Consuelos that his favorite cookies were safe. "These are 2 flavors," she revealed. "And while I understand they're referring to them as fan favorites, I've never heard of these cookies. Therefore, I believe that these fan favorites, whom I have never heard of, may be retiring for the same reason." Nevertheless, Ripa acknowledged that there's a plausible explanation for why she would be unaware of these cookies. "And you tell me if you know these flavors," she said. "Did they just invent them? I ask, where have I been? But once more, when my children grow up, the friends of my children from whom I once purchased Girl Scout cookies likewise grow up. I now depend on whoever has small children present. They are my suppliers and are the ones that bring in the Girl Scout cookies." Ripa discovered that one cookie was actually a fan favorite. To her astonishment, though, a large portion of the audience seemed to know what the s'mores biscuit was. The Toast Day flavor, which Ripa likened to French toast, did, however, seem to perplex the crowd and Consuelos. After that, Ripa and Consuelos talked about how the cookies are now available for purchase online. Ripa said, "Yeah, I'll get you some Samoas," in response. "In addition to some peanut butter tagalongs, I'm going to get the Consuelos tried using Thin Mints to fill in the blank." As a result, Ripa acknowledged, "I don't like Thin Mints." I said, "I don't like them. I dislike." Consuelos then turned to the crowd and exclaimed, "Boo her." Ripa started to make fun of the cookies fans after being jeered by the audience. "You know what? You're a bunch of potheads down there," she said. The entire portion. "Potheads, wave to your relatives." The Thin Mints are popular among cannabis aficionados. That should come as no surprise. At home, they dip them in peanut butter. The audience seemed to find Ripa's remarks amusing. Then Ripa said, "How did Girl Scout cookies get so violent?" Have you watched this Live with Kelly and Mark episode? How do you feel about the latest announcement made by the Girl Scouts? For the most recent TV and celebrity news, be sure to return to TV show's Ace. The bright lights of the Live with Kelly and Mark studio gleamed as cameras rolled, the warm chatter of the audience filling the air. On paper, it was supposed to be another easy Tuesday morning, celebrity guests, witty banter, and Kelly Ripa's trademark charm. But what unfolded was a rare, unfiltered moment of tension, one that left producers scrambling. Mark Consuelos looking like he'd swallowed a lemon, and Kelly standing her ground while the audience didn't. It all started with what should have been a throwaway moment. Kelly, wearing a sleek emerald green dress and stilettos that looked like they'd been shipped directly from the future, was mid-storied about her weekend. She was explaining, with her usual comedic flair, how she had accidentally offended a waiter at a swanky Manhattan restaurant. "I told him the soup was so salty, it could have cured a ham," Kelly joked, leaning into the punchline. Normally, the audience would have chuckled, applauded, maybe even let out that supportive awe sound they'd perfected over years of live TV. Instead, a low, collective groan rolled across the seating area. Kelly blinked. "Oh, okay. Tough crowd," she quipped, her smile tightening. From his seat beside her, Mark tried to rescue the moment. "Babe, I thought it was funny, he said, giving her arm a playful squeeze. But a few people in the front row shook their heads. Someone in the back muttered something about not cool, and the shift in the room's energy was unmistakable. The producers, seated just offstage, exchanged worried looks. Even in the unpredictable world of live TV, it was unusual for an audience to push back like this, especially against Kelly, who'd spent decades building her rapport with fans. Trying to regain control, Kelly launched into the next segment, a light-hearted discussion about bizarre news headlines. But the unease lingered. Every joke she made was met with awkward silence or hesitant applause. Mark, clearly picking up on it, kept glancing toward the crowd, as if to silently ask, "What's going on with you people?" Then came the moment that would make headlines by lunchtime. The day's guest, a well-known chef promoting a new cookbook, walked on stage carrying a tray of mini quiches. Kelly, known for her tiny appetite and plant-based preferences, teased him. "I'm sorry, chef, but you know I'm more of a smoothie for breakfast girl. If I eat this, I'll have to cancel my Pilates class." That's when it happened, an audible boo. Not just one person, but several, rippling through the audience like a rogue wave. A woman in the third row actually crossed her arms and shook her head at Kelly. Mark's eyes widened. "Whoa, okay, let's keep it friendly, people." Kelly tried to laugh it off. "Well, I guess I'll just take my smoothie and go home," she said, but her voice wavered slightly. The chef, caught between confusion and discomfort, offered her a quiche anyway. She took a tiny bite, exaggeratedly chewed, and gave the camera a sarcastic thumbs up. "There. Happy?" she said, but the sarcasm only seemed to deepen the divide. During the commercial break, the tension behind the scenes was palpable. One producer rushed over with a clipboard, whispering something in Kelly's ear. Mark leaned in, speaking quietly to her, but Kelly shook her head, clearly unwilling to retreat. When they returned from the break, Kelly addressed the elephant in the room. "Okay, so I can feel we're having a little bit of a disagreement today," she began, her tone measured but pointed. "That's fine. We can disagree. But remember, this is a happy place. I've been here with you for over 2 decades. We shared coffee, laughs, and tears. If I make a joke and it doesn't land, it's not personal. It's just live TV." Her words were met with a mix of applause and scattered muttering. One man shouted, "We love you, Kelly," while another voice in the back called out, "Then be nicer." Mark stepped in, his voice firm but calm. "All right, folks, let's keep in mind, we're all guests in this studio. Nobody here wants negativity. We're here to have a good time." It wasn't exactly a hallmark moment of reconciliation, but the room's hostility seemed to soften slightly. The remainder of the show carried on with less friction, though it never returned to its usual breezy energy. By the time the credits rolled, Kelly's smile looked more like armor than joy. She hugged the day's guests, waved to the audience, and then vanished backstage before the cameras cut. What really happened? Later, whispers from the production crew started circulating. According to a source, several audience members had arrived at the studio already annoyed. Some had been waiting outside in the humid summer heat for over an hour due to a last-minute security sweep. Others were apparently miffed about a recent interview Kelly had done in which she joked that she doesn't really need to eat during a workday, comments that rubbed some fans the wrong way. Combine that simmering irritation with an offhand joke about salty soup and a quip about skipping quiche, and the stage was set for a rare on-air revolt. Social media lit up within minutes. On X, formerly Twitter, #TeamKelly and #KellyOut were both trending. One viewer wrote, "The audience was so rude to Kelly today. She's human, people." Another countered, "Kelly's been sounding more condescending lately. Glad someone called her out." By evening, entertainment blogs had already run with sensational headlines. Kelly Ripa booed on live TV. What went wrong? Audience turns on morning show queen. Mark Consuelos defends wife amid on-air tension. Kelly herself remained quiet, posting only a short, cryptic Instagram story, a photo of her coffee cup with the caption, "Tomorrow is another day." Inside ABC's offices, executives debated whether to address the incident on the next show. Some argued it would be better to let the moment fade. Others believed Kelly should confront it head-on. One insider claimed Kelly had already made up her mind. She would joke about it, turning the tension into another chapter in her long history of unscripted TV moments. As for Mark, he reportedly told friends later that night, "Kelly's been in this game long enough to know you can't please everyone. But I've never seen them turn like that. It was weird." In the end, whether the audience's reaction was justified or overblown didn't matter. What mattered was that for one morning, the carefully choreographed world of Lev with Kelly and Mark was disrupted by something raw, unpredictable, and undeniably human.